Hello, my name is Perry Roper, and I've been a member of All Souls Church for over 30 years. Last summer, a tree was planted in my name on a farm in Western Maryland. I'm amazed at this sapling, how it hopefully will grow to provide shade, beauty, and perhaps a home for birds and other animals. It will have to endure harsh winters, summer heat and drought, and may have to fight off pests and other organisms that can cause it harm. It will receive the sunshine and rain necessary for its growth. I don't know what will happen to it, but the tree is planted and is living its life. I will be long gone before it matures, but I hope it will provide benefits to those who are near it. The seeds for this church were planted a long time ago. This place has provided shelter, beauty, and shade for its members. It has endured hard financial times and has had to fight for its existence. I don't know what its future will be, but the church is here and I am grateful. I give to All Souls because I want this church to grow and thrive. I want it to be here so that long after I have left this plane, there will be a place for its members to be in community with each other. We have been given a rich inheritance, and we have the duty to maintain and use it wisely. The words of the late Reverend Peter Rabel say it all for me. We build on foundations we did not lay. We warm ourselves by fires we did not light. We sit in the shade of trees we did not plant. We drink from wells we did not dig. We profit from persons we did not know. This is as it should be. Together, we are more than any one person could be. Together, we can build across the generations. Together, we can renew our hope and faith in the life that is yet to unfold. Together, we can heed the call to a ministry of care and justice. We are ever bound in community. May it always be so. Please support this church financially so that you may be supported in body and spirit. Thank you.
We come together to celebrate you, to be a witness to love so true. We come together to lift you up. We come together to celebrate this love. Let there be dancing, let there be singing, let there be celebration on this day. Let there be dancing, let there be singing, let there be celebration on this day. Let there be singing, let there be joy, let there be celebration on this day. Let there be singing, let there be joy, let there be celebration on this day. We come together to celebrate you, to be a witness to love so true. We come together to lift you up. We come together to celebrate this love. Come on now. We come together to celebrate you. We be a witness to love so true. We come together to lift you up. We come together to celebrate it. One more time. We come together to celebrate you. To be a witness to love so true. We come together to lift you up. We come together to celebrate this love.
words of Reverend William F. Scholes, the former president of the Unitarian Universalist Association and later Amnesty International USA. Come into this place of peace and let its silence heal your spirit. Come into this place of memory and let its history warm your soul. Come into this place of prophecy and power and let its vision change your heart. Come, let us worship together. We now kindle our chalice flame as an act of connection with our larger faith community. Please keep your spirits and bodies up if you like, and join in our opening hymn, Lead with Love.
Look at you. You are spectacular. You gotta put one foot in front of you, come on, and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other, and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other, and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other, and lead with love. Don't give up hope. Don't give up hope. You're not alone. Don't you give up. Don't you give up. Keep moving on. Keep moving on. And you gotta put one foot in front one foot in front of the other, and lead with love. Yes, God. Put one foot in front of the other, and lead with love. One foot in front of the other, lead with love. Lift up your eyes. Lift up your eyes. Don't you despair. Don't you despair. Look up ahead. Look up ahead. The path is there. The path is there. So we gotta put one foot in front of the other, and lead with love. One foot in front of the other, and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front, one foot, lead with love. One foot in front of the other, lead with love. I know you're scared. I know you're scared. And I'm scared too. And I'm scared too. But here I am. Right next to you. Right next to you. So we gotta put one foot in front of the other, and lead with love. One foot in front of the other, and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other, and lead with love. One foot in front of the other, and lead with love. And lead with love. And lead with love. And lead. Come on, family, harmony. With love.
Good morning, All Souls. By now you've met our guest director, who really needs no introduction, but I'm going to give her one anyway. Please welcome three-time Grammy-nominated singer, songwriter, activist, composer, arranger, teacher, wise human being, and downright beautiful soul, Miss Melanie DeMore. Well, we got some time. And something that I forgot to include in the program, just so that you know, all of today's music was written by Melanie or arranged by Melanie. And today's offertory piece is the world live premiere of We All Live in the Same House. So anyway, enjoy. Thank you all for being here, and thank you, Melanie.
Good morning. My name is Fred Katz, and I am your worship associate today. My pronouns are he, him. Welcome to All Souls Church. We are a Unitarian Universalist congregation, diverse in many ways, but united in our belief in the inherent worth and dignity of every person, and in the obligation to express our faith through acts of justice and compassion. We invite you to join us as we seek to create a diverse, justice-seeking, spirit-growing community that is true to the vision inherent in our name, All Souls. Once again, I am lucky and pleased to be the worship associate on a Sunday when the Jubilee Singers are creating such joyful music for us. I'm especially happy that Melanie DeMore is here today as our guest conductor. I'd like to offer a special welcome this morning to those of us who are new or feeling new at All Souls. Please raise your hand in person or on Zoom so that we may give you a warm All Souls welcome. Are there any visitors? We are glad you're here. If you are in the sanctuary, printed programs are available with ushers, or you can pull up the order of service on your phone using the QR code on the back of the pew in front of you. Select the code on the right. For those on Zoom, a link to the order of service is in the chat. Please note the many opportunities listed in our Friday email newsletter and this morning's order of service. Sign up on the All Souls websites to get the weekly happenings and important announcements. A link is also in the Zoom chat. After the service, I invite you to Pierce Hall to enjoy coffee and conversation. Pierce Hall is out the door to my left, your right, and across the hall. Let me rephrase that. Coffee hour is that way, in that direction. Our city and our church were built on lands taken from indigenous people. We lament this injustice and want to remain aware of the impact. The closest village to this All Souls site was Nacotchtank, from which we get the name Anacostia. Residents were part of the Piscataway group of tribes present in the D.C. and Maryland region. Piscataway peoples and their descendants remain in this region to this day. We invite you to research the native peoples of the land where you reside, whether here or in another area. Find out what indigenous organizing is happening in your sites, around your sites, and how you can support it. Learn more about indigenous experience and perspectives. For all of us not native to the lands we occupy, may we live into our eighth principle, building beloved community with awareness and love. Now, as a symbol of the love and welcome that are embodied in our name, let us have the time we call beholding. On Zoom, open up your gallery screen and greet each other. If you're in the sanctuary, please greet each other in the manner that feels best to you. Embrace, fist bump, elbow bump, or other respectful gesture. And say hello to the folks on Zoom who can see us through cameras mounted on the rear balcony. Thanks, everybody. Please continue your conversations and greetings after the service. And again, welcome to All Souls Church.
We all live in the same house. That's what this piece is. And we all know who that is. When you want to look in the mirror and you want to say to yourself, who is John Lewis? Look in the mirror. Look at yourself. We all live in the same house. All right? We all live, we all live, we all live in the same house. We all live, we all live, we all live in the same house. We all live, we all live, we all live in the same house. We all live, we all live, we all live in the same house. Make some good trouble. Keep on moving ahead. Make some
Okay, that is fun, y'all. I am Reverend Louise, pronouns she, her. It is so good to be here in March abundance. Look at the weekly newsletter for the things I'm going to tell you now. First of all, my bad, sorry I didn't tell Fred. The speed meet and greet is in Pierce Hall today. So if you go that way to your right, you're going to be in the speed meet and greet. If you would like to ease on into coffee hour, you need to go that way and into the courtyard, and that's where the coffee is, and you'll be able to greet our guest. Mindful Souls meets today and every Sunday for Sangha practice and meditation after the service at noon. It's going to be classroom 2, a different room on the lower level. First Sundays on Zoom as well. Okay, hang on. I did not factor singing and then speaking. Hold me. It's like, what is happening now? Okay. I am so grateful for Ms. Melanie DeMore and her ministry to us this week. Now, y'all come to our next Jubilee Singers, Love and Music Fest, that's what I'm going to call it now, singing with our guest, Dr. Carl DuPont, for Easter. You can be an Easter singer, yes. Every detail is in the order of service. Just have some fun, move, savor the joy of musical community. It's open to anyone, believe me, anyone, and it is good. Check the order of service today for our next Sunday's DC Statehood Gathering after the service, March 19th. There'll be a guest speaker from the Brennan Center for Justice who will talk about how statehood is crucial to racial and reproductive justice. And we need to be a state, oh yeah. Big congratulations now to member Sunu Chandy. Can't tell if she's there in her spot. Her book, My Dear Comrades, is ready for launch now. And she will be at Politics and Prose on Tuesday, March 28th at 7 p.m. with Kiara Johnson of the National LGBTQ Task Force. The Rainbow Souls, our Rainbow Tribe at All Souls, will meet next door at Comet Pizza at 5, and then we're going to head over to see Sunu shine. The poetry emerges from her experience as a woman, a civil rights attorney, parent, partner, daughter of South Asian immigrants, and member of the LGBTQ community. Don't miss it. And now I'd like to welcome Reverend Bill for an announcement. He just wants to say a word about our campaign, As Love Shows Us How.
Thank you, Louise. Thank you all. The energy at All Souls is clearly building. All Souls is coming back. If you have not noticed the energy this morning, here in the sanctuary, in the RE space, the wonderful choir concert earlier this month, the intergenerational birthday party that we had just yesterday for Meredith Higgins-Hargrave, the commitment to support another Afghan immigrant. All Souls is coming back. And it's such a pleasure to be here for me and to see it and to experience and to be a part of it. Our fundraising makes all of this possible. And I want to say a few words to this community here in the sanctuary and on Zoom about where we stand right now. So if you're visiting today, we're so glad that you came. You can just kind of kick back. There will not be a role for you here. But if you're interested in knowing how All Souls stays All Souls, this is part of how we do it. So we have been running our As Love Shows Us How campaign for the last 4 weeks. And a number of you have already made your pledges of commitment for next year. And the generosity that you've expressed has been, well, simply so gratifying and so hopeful for All Souls. The increases in giving are wonderful to see, and they're just about what we had hoped for to support our ministry. But only about 20% of us have made our pledges so far. That means that 80% of us have not, and we need to have our pledges in by April 1st. So this is really a plea to the members of All Souls and those friends who make pledges. It's time. And so if you have been thinking and praying about your commitment to All Souls and how much you're called to give next year, or if you've been avoiding about thinking and praying about your commitment to All Souls and how much you will give, if you have in that stack of mail on your desk or your table, the mailing that we made to you with the pledge card and the giving guide, if you've gotten a call from one of our visiting stewards, and many of them are in the sanctuary here today, asking for a conversation about your giving, and you just haven't gotten around to returning that call, now is the time. So I'm asking all of you to take this message seriously. All Souls is coming back, and we need the resources to support all of the energy in the congregation. Together, we can get this done. I'm not distressed, but I wanted to have a chance to tell you where we were and to ask you all for your help. We can get this done together in this diverse, spirit-growing, justice-seeking, beloved community of All Souls. We can get this done. Thank you. April 1st.
This is the April 1st deadline that is not fooling. We move to the joys and concerns of this congregation. We're going to begin with some celebration. First, a warm shout out and welcome to Dr. Isay Barnwell, who is here with us today. The founder of the Jubilee Singers. Yes. And a big thank you to Meredith Higgins Hargrave for the joyful birthday party yesterday. It was a benefit for the Religious Education Endowment. And thanks to Anna for all her organizing of games, juggling, drumming, cakes. It was big. It was wonderful to be with you. Today, yes, thank you. And today we also hold many congregants in healing rehab, in medical treatment, or upcoming procedures. There are a number right now, and I'm only going to name 3. Jane Simpson is in acute cardiac care and has COVID, and she is in Suburban Hospital. Mel Hardy has complications from his back surgery, was back in the hospital, now in rehab. And Judith Clark, one of our Silver Souls, is in renal treatment in a rehab setting now. We hold them in our hearts. And now your names and your issues aloud, silently, or into the chat on Zoom. Would you meditate or pray with me? Ground of all being and source of life, we hold extravagant abundance while also experiencing much sorrow and pain. And as this spring season moves towards equinox, we remember the promise of new life emerging. This week, in the radiant colors of the Hindu Festival of Holi, we sense the rainbow of all our humanity, our creature kin, the radiant beauty of our earth home. And in our music, we feel each human being longing to be real and whole, and beloved. May this community faithfully serve our desires for justice. May it be the strong foundation for abundant life. Blessed be.
We hold in our hearts all those concerns spoken and unspoken. Greetings. Sorry to say I'm a little sniffly this morning, not COVID. But when you have two young kids, you're just going to get something from somewhere. There's no avoiding it. So greetings on this stuffy day up here, unseasonably cold now in March because the weather is so bizarre. I add a special welcome to the Coming of Age program from the UU Congregation of Fairfax. Nice to have you with us. Hear our reading today. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. It was the age of wisdom. It was the age of foolishness. It was the epoch of belief. It was the epoch of incredulity. It was the season of light. It was the season of darkness. It was the spring of hope. It was the winter of despair. For months now, long before I started consciously preparing for this sermon, these opening lines from A Tale of Two Cities have been running through my mind. Especially, it was the age of wisdom, it was the age of foolishness part. Because at any given moment, it just seems like vast amounts of both wisdom and foolishness are just pouring forth from the human family in all corners of the globe. The foolishness is often easier to find for many reasons. Witness that just this week, Congress and even the White House are interfering with Washington, D.C.'s local politics because our city council wants to change our criminal justice system in ways that don't fit other people's ideology who don't even live here. So that's one way that the story of DC is a tale of two cities. We are, as the saying goes, the capital of the free world, but we're also a colony without its own democratic authority. It is a bizarre situation intellectually, but I also think it creates a dissonance in us at the emotional and spiritual level. It is odd to live at the intersection of power and powerlessness. Now, in some ways, that's All Souls' story as well. On one hand, yes, we are a local church comprised of people who live and work in these neighborhoods in the areas of Washington, D.C. But we also have a role and a history as a national church. Our founding members include people who would soon become president and vice president of the United States. And yet, despite these connections to power and privilege, it's also true that when All Souls was founded in 1821, Unitarianism was a relatively new, small tradition that had some dominance in New England, but was robustly criticized by the dominant religious culture. That's somewhat different today, but also somewhat not. I'll be honest that my own experience growing up as a Unitarian Universalist in central Pennsylvania was mixed. Within my congregation, the Unitarian Church of Harrisburg, it was great. But I honestly don't think I ever met another person beyond my church, certainly not anyone my age, in all of central Pennsylvania who had a clue what Unitarian Universalism was. Some of the people in my school told me that it was a cult. It was weird. It felt weird and isolating to be a UU there. Getting involved in regional Unitarian Universalist youth conferences did a great deal to change that. I met many incredible people my age from other parts of Pennsylvania, Maryland, Virginia, and beyond, and I can't claim that my feeling of weirdness went away. I think more so I just got more comfortable with being weird. I found weird that matched my weird. But the sense of isolation disappeared. My positive sense of Unitarian Universalist identity took another huge leap forward when I came to Washington, D.C. on Sunday, April 5th, 1992, for the March for Women's Lives with my youth group. The march itself was incredible. At the time, it was one of the largest political events ever held in the city. But what I remember more is coming here to All Souls beforehand. I had never been in such a large UU church. The sanctuary was packed, and so it was by far the most other Unitarian Universalist that I had ever been around. And I don't remember who spoke or what they said, but I remember the feel. I remember feeling more connected and positive and proud to be a Unitarian Universalist at any other point in my life to date. And I still feel that when I come into the sanctuary. And I expect that many of you have some shred of a story like that, of what it felt the first time and how it still feels. Now, for reasons that were very much related to my understanding of my faith and our faith's calling to justice, I decided to study politics in college, and it struck me that there was no better place to do that than Washington, D.C. And so I came to American University. Although my focus was initially national and international, I quickly became conscious of the local injustice as well, and in particular, the racial and class disparities. Speaking at a recent clergy gathering for people involved in the Washington Interfaith Network, the Reverend Andre Green of Varick Memorial AME Zion in Ward 7, the host of our meeting, named this as the other way, that people have viewed Washington, D.C. as a tale of two cities for years. There is vast inequality here, and in particular, between the northwest part of D.C. and the portions east of the Anacostia River in Wards 7 and 8. Friends, consider this. Nationwide, the average wealth of white households is 13 times more than black households and 6 times more than Latino households. That's 13 and 6. In DC, the average wealth of white households is 81 times the wealth of black households and 22 times the wealth of Latino households. Our racial inequity is vast. So what a mixed bag of power and oppression simultaneously. What a mixed bag of being national and local simultaneously. Yes, All Souls is a local church, but it's also true that if you walk out our front door and you get to the sidewalk and you turn left, the next building you run into is the White House. And 16th Street Northwest was planned by Pierre L'Enfant as the White House Meridian, intentionally framing the city with this grand avenue. And our religious ancestors chose this location specifically because they wanted to be on 16th Street. They wanted us to have a grand position on this grand avenue. So what do we do with all this? What do we do with this swirl? I recognize that my words today are fairly All Souls and DC focused. So those of you who are not from here, I invite some grace from you. And there are certainly many ways what I say is applicable to any city. And it's also true that we lack our own representation in Congress. So what you do for DC also matters. So what do we do? There are some very practical answers, and I'll get to those, but I want to start more conceptually and theologically. And those of you who are social justice leaders here will recognize this reading as it's one of my favorites. It's a short and powerful piece by Steve Biko, a South African activist against apartheid. His murder by South African police was one of the key factors in turning worldwide opinion against apartheid. And his life and death, as much as anyone ever, represent exactly what it means to live at the intersection of power and powerlessness. He writes, "We regard our living together not as an unfortunate mishap warranting endless competition among us, but as a deliberate act of God to make us a community, jointly involved in the quest for a composite answer to the varied problems of life. Simply put, the reason we are here, our mission and purpose as human beings, is to figure out how to live together, not separately, not through domination of one another, but as a community that seeks and creates answers together. Now, I'm on the Washington Interfaith Network, otherwise known as WIN, public safety team. And one of the things we have strongly identified of late is that we need to do a lot more internal education and theological reflection about public safety and alternatives to policing, not research, mind you. The DC government has done no less than 8 studies in the last 10 years about public safety, including how to reduce gun violence, improve police accountability, and move beyond policing as a primary means to public safety. But not a single one of these 8 reports has been fully implemented or funded. The problem we face is not a lack of information. It's a lack of imagination. And to lay it bare, it is a lack of political power. One of the most active congregations in WIN is Temple Sinai, a Reformed Jewish synagogue on Military Road. In a recent meeting, one of their stalwart leaders, a layperson named Barbara Kraft, shared that the Jewish definition of the word shalom is flourishing. Not just peace, as in the absence of conflict, but genuine human flourishing. That struck a chord with all of us and has continued to be a topic of individual and shared reflection among WIN leaders. It's powerful, right? And on one hand, it seems so obvious, so universal. What a great vision. Who could possibly disagree with a vision of universal flourishing? Well, the answer is, on the other hand, a lot of people disagree. And many of those people have a lot of money and a lot of power. It is not an accident that there is a huge wealth gap in Washington, D.C. It is not an accident that Congress and, frankly, even Mayor Bowser want to continue the idolatry of policing as a means to public safety, blaming, scapegoating individuals, rather than looking at systemic problems or systemic solutions. So what does it look like to challenge this? This is where the theological and theoretical and the practical intersect. Also speaking to this group of WIN clergy this past Wednesday was Reverend William Lamar, pastor of Metropolitan AME Church, one of the largest and oldest Black churches in Washington, D.C. And he named the reality that throughout our nation's history, the powers that be have always opposed the building of coalitions. It says, when we approach government officials with our own individual concerns, as justice-seeking white people or Black people or brown people, as Christians or as Jews or what have you, so long as we're going alone, we are relatively easy to manage, easy to write off. But what is much harder to ignore, exponentially harder to ignore, is when we show up together. Reverend Andre Green said this as well. He said, "The power of coalition is the greatest tool we have to make things right." I want to take the concept of coalition a little deeper, though. In this context, in general, I think our default understanding of coalition is that it's something that we just do for organizing. It's a political tactic that we use to secure policy changes and win elections, and that's certainly true. But I want us to consider coalition building in the context of beloved community, of Biko's words to us, of shalom. I want to invite us to consider coalition building not just as an organizing tactic, but as a core spiritual practice. If human flourishing is the goal, then it's cooperation and coalition building that gets us there. Yes, to achieve political goals, but also to achieve relationship, a human connection, to overcome the millennia of domination and white supremacy that have driven wedges between us. In this sense, coalition building is not just formal campaigns and official meetings. It's any and all connections that we can make across differences to do something meaningful. It's working with our neighbors on something, other parents in the school, other coworkers, other people here at church. It's singing together for love and liberation. There are vast resources available to us on how to build and work in coalitions. We use and practice many of those through the Washington Interfaith Network. And right now, as is often the case, we have incredible opportunities through them in collaboration with more than 40 other faith institutions in this city to make a difference. One, as I'm sure you already know from my words, is the short and long-term struggle on public safety. In case you missed it, Reverend Bill Sinkford preached a phenomenal sermon about reimagining public safety on February 5th. And through All Souls Racial Justice Action Group, we are working through WIN to build a broader power base that invests more in prevention and treatment than in punishment. I want to return to the conceptual in a moment, but first, two other very specific opportunities that show you what we can do through coalition building. The first, also through WIN, to address the huge disparity in wealth, is a campaign focused on increasing Black home ownership. All Souls is working closely with the Metropolitan AME Church on this, and we could use more of you involved. Specifically, we want more people who grew up in the district to be able to buy a home in the city that is their home. Right? So we got public safety, we got Black home ownership. The third and final thing is that DC can likely get up to $60 million from the Federal Inflation Reduction Act. If it goes the way of most other large investments in DC, it will benefit developers and high-income people more than anyone else. But WIN is spearheading an effort to put this money to work in different ways. The first is by upgrading heating systems in public housing, which is a win-win. Internal air quality in public housing is often terrible due to the outdated heating systems. And in Washington, D.C., buildings are the largest source of carbon emissions. So by improving heating systems in public housing, we help our people and our earth. And second, by directing some of these inflation reduction funds towards green upgrades among low-income homeowners. Again, there is a gathering to hear and learn more about statehood. That's Sunday, March 26th, here at All Souls in the Longfellow Room. Now, these are all good things to do, and we will use our best practices about coalition building to make them all work. But there's a simpler practice and a simpler truth for how to do this work of coalition building. It's this: Show up. Show up and keep showing up. Commit to being part of a group. Commit to relationship. You can do some of this online for sure, but you have to do some of it in person as well. Now, for white people and other people of dominant identities, there are definitely some practices around how to show up that will help us ensure that our showing up is helpful to other people. But friends, there is no perfect amount of training, and there is no amount of training that replaces the importance of just showing up. I can tell you that we haven't made a lot of progress on policy yet through the WIN public safety team, but that work is having a significant impact on those involved, including me, because we continue to show up with and for each other. Last but not least, I want to return to that other aspect of DC as a federal city. We can't stop Congress from meddling, but there's a lot we can do on our own. Part of what I love about DC, and I suspect it's true for many of you, is that we have all the benefits of being a large city without actually being that big. And the limitation on tall buildings means that it's more open. The embassies and immigration means that it's truly international. It is an amazing place to live. Wouldn't it be a sign to Congress and the nation, perhaps even the world, if DC was truly a place of universal human flourishing? And by contrast to my experience in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, where no one outside my church had ever heard of Unitarian Universalism, people all around this city know of All Souls. Countless activists that I've met, both young and older, have told me about important meetings or events they've been to here. When I testify at city council, do lobby visits with council members, they know All Souls. But not only that, I've been to multiple breweries and bars in the city where somehow it comes out what I do, and the bartenders have told me about a connection that they have to All Souls. There is, in fact, a bar called All Souls Bar, named after All Souls, because that person experienced All Souls as a welcoming place, and he wanted a bar that sent the same message. This congregation, All Souls, has a special place and a powerful place in this city. And because of that, because of the people in this congregation who came before us, we, the people here now, also have power. We can and should feel proud of this legacy, this inheritance, but we are also responsible for it. We have to do something with it. So what's next? What will we do? What will you do to show your pride in this church and in this city and our commitment to human flourishing? I look forward to figuring it out together. And I'll close today with how Reverend Lamar closed our meeting Wednesday, reminding us of the connection between organizing and our religious calling. He said, "We can't separate this from the spiritual work, because this is the spiritual work. We can't separate this from the spiritual work, because this is the spiritual work." Amen.
Good morning, All Souls. I'm glad to be here. I want you to know, if you haven't guessed already, I biked to church this morning. It was 33 degrees when I got here. It was glorious. Spoiler alert, it's all about the layers. I love biking. I love to bike for the freedom it gives me, for being in my body, for being in the neighborhoods, and for getting a workout every time I ride, and for reducing my carbon footprint because I value sustainability. I don't deny city biking can be risky, but I will note that so far I have not yet been hit by a car. Although, as they say in the mutual fund business, past performance is no guarantee of future results. For my as yet untrampled condition, I am grateful for the infrastructure that this city has built and continues to build to separate and protect cyclists from traffic. The Metropolitan Branch Trail allows me to cycle from Petworth almost all the way to Capitol Hill free of cars. Bright green bike lanes are cropping up everywhere, literally holding space for cyclists, by visually announcing their presence and sometimes physically separating them from traffic, by additional barrier curbs like along 14th Street below U Street, or even by positioning parked cars away from the sidewalk curb to make them the barriers like along 15th Street at Meridian Hill Park. By the way, talk about a city on a hill. That bike lane has got to be the longest and steepest in DC. Like I say, a workout every time I ride. These are all literal signs that this city is working towards making non-automobile transportation safe, pleasurable, and a net positive for the environment, which is to say, sustainable. In the same way that we need to build environmental sustainability, we also need to build spiritual sustainability. In order for All Souls to continue to do all the good work it does, the worship, the music, the pastoral care, the social justice work, it needs to be paid for on an ongoing basis. In a word, the work All Souls does needs to be sustainable, and that can't happen without your contributions. So as the offering plate passes, please consider being generous with your donations. One more thing. All Souls now has a Share the Plate collection. Every month, 50% of all non-pledge contributions go to a great organization we want to support. The organization for March is Beacon House, founded by All Souls member, the Reverend Don Robinson. Beacon House promotes academic advancement and personal growth with children in Washington, D.C.'s Edgewood neighborhood. The offering will now be received.
I always think of song, let me adjust this, songs as being food and nourishment. And this song has been food and nourishment for me, and you all know it. And it's actually a Gullah spiritual from the South Sea Islands. And during the time of the lynching of George Floyd, this song was food to me. That was my face pressed into the concrete. That was all of us calling for our mamas. And this is a song you all know, but perhaps maybe haven't really sung it. All around our wounded planet, folks are on their knees, looking to their gods and asking, can you help us please? How do we get so far away from the love you gave. What happened to the light and love? Hear us as we pray. Come by here, my Lord. Come by here. Come by here, my Lord. Come by here. Come by here, my Lord. Come by here. Oh, Lord, come by here. As we are crying along, come by here. We are crying, my Lord, please come by here. We are crying, my Lord, come by here. Oh, Lord, come by here. For our babies, Lord, come by here. For our babies, my Lord, come by here. For our babies, my Lord, come by here. Oh, Lord, come by here. For all people, come by here. For all people, my Lord, please come by here. For all people, my Lord, come by here. Oh, Lord, come by here. As we are suffering, come by here. We are suffering, Lord, please come by here. We are suffering, my Lord, come by here. Oh, Lord, come by here. Come by here, my Lord, come by here. Come by here, my Lord, please come by here. Come by here, my Lord, come by here. Oh, Lord, come by here. Oh, Lord, come by here. Oh, Lord, come by here. the African American tradition of sorrow songs and jubilee. You can't have one without the other. Can I see you nod your head? All right? So we're going to hold everybody up, which means you need nothing in your hand. Nothing. We got to hold everybody. Come on. We got to hold everybody up. We got to hold everybody. We got to hold everybody up. Hold everybody up, up, up. Hold everybody up, up, up. Hold everybody up, up, up. Hold everybody up. Let me clap. Just because you look like you and I look like me, it doesn't mean we can't be friends. You're not my enemy. So we gotta hold everybody. We gotta hold everybody up. Well, we gotta hold everybody. We gotta hold everybody up. Hold everybody up, up, up. Hold everybody up, up, up. Hold everybody up, up, up. Hold everybody up. Let me clap again. And then I say, people all around the world sometimes feel so sad. But when others show they care, well, things don't seem so bad. So we gotta hold everybody. We gotta hold everybody up. Well, we gotta hold everybody. We gotta hold everybody up. Hold everybody up, up, up. Hold everybody up, up, up. Hold everybody up, up, up. Hold everybody up. And then I say, thank you, Reverend Dr. King, for showing us what love can bring. Thank you, my diva, for lifting up South Africa. We gotta hold everybody. Harmony's good. Hold everybody up. Well, we gotta hold everybody. We gotta hold everybody up. Hold everybody up, up, up. Hold everybody up, up, up. Hold big finish up, up, up. Hold everybody up. Harmony.
One day, friends, one day I hope and pray that this will not be a colony known as the District of Columbia, but rather a state known as the Douglas Commonwealth. And it is clearer to me than ever that what Frederick Douglass said was right. Power cedes nothing without a demand. It never did and never will. So let's build coalitions and make the demands that need to be made. Let's show up together again and again and again for as long as it takes to ensure human flourishing for all.
Amen. Amen.
Sing it through. Lord, I'm free, free, free. Lord, I'm free. Well, we know this for sure. Lord, I'm free, free, free. Lord, I'm free. I done screamed and I done talked. I done run and I done walked. But it don't matter now, 'cause I'm free. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Lord, I'm free, free, free. Lord, I'm free. Come on, you believe it. Lord, I'm free, free, free. Lord, I'm free. I done screamed and I done talked. I done run and I done walked. but it don't matter now, 'cause I'm free. I gotta shout, you gotta shout, shout, shout. I just gotta shout. Come on. Gotta shout, shout, shout. I just gotta shout. I stood up and raised my voice. I stood up and raised my voice. No more silence, I made my choice. Now I'm strong, moving on. I just gotta shout. Lord, I'm free. You know that? Lord, I'm free, free, free. Lord, I'm free. Lord, I'm free, free, free. Lord, I'm free. Well, I done scream. I done scream and I done talk. I done run and I done walk. But it don't matter now, 'cause I'm free. One more time, gotta shout. Gotta shout, shout. I just gotta shout. You know that is so true. Come on now. Gotta shout, shout. I just gotta. I stood up and made my choice. I stood up and made my choice. No more silence, I raised my voice. And now I'm strong, moving on. I just gotta shout. I just gotta shout. Well, 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 I just gotta shout. Yeah. I just gotta shout. Come on, let me hear you. I just gotta shout. I just shout, shout, shout. I'm gonna stand, God stand, shout. God shout. God shout. God shout. Come on. God shout. I'm free, free, free. I just gotta shout. Shout, shout. I just gotta shout. Shout, shout. I just shout, shout, shout. I just gotta shout. Shout, shout. I just gotta shout. Shout. Yes. Shout.